The massive domed ceiling of the Galactic Council's judgment chamber loomed 300 meters overhead, its crystalline surface reflecting the faces of 2,000 alien representatives from across the Milky Way. Today's emergency session had drawn unprecedented attendance. At the center of the chamber stood Admiral Eleanor Reed, her weathered face illuminated by harsh white light. She stood alone, refusing the hover chair offered to Hera, the only human in a sea of alien delegates. "You stand accused of violating Directive 17, announced High Counselor Trell, his four eyes narrowing to slits. "Deploying military vessels to the Novan system without council approval." Eleanor's mouth twitched into what might be a smile. "We received a distress call," we responded. "With harvest ships?" The High Counselor's voice reverberated through the chamber. "With war fleets?" "The Novans pleaded for aid," Eleanor replied, her voice steady. They were starving. Their crops had failed for 3 cycles. The Raxus Confederation had blockaded their system. "The Raxus-Novan conflict was under council arbitration," hissed a reptilian delegate. "Earth had no authority. 5 million Novans had already died while your arbitration dragged on," Eleanor interrupted, causing gasps throughout the chamber. 5 million. While you debated protocols. Trell rose from his seat, towering 3 meters tall. "And so Earth sent harvest ships, and war fleets," added another counselor. "Yes," Eleanor said, pulling a small device from her pocket. "May I present evidence?" Without waiting for permission, she activated the device. A hologram materialized above the chamber floor. A recording from 6 months earlier. The desperate face of Ambassador Lear of Nova filled the space, tears streaming down her feathered face. "Please," the recording pleaded. "My people are dying. The council debates while children starve. We have heard stories of Earth, of humans. They say you once prioritized action over politics. They say you remember hunger. Please, we have nothing to offer in return. But we beg you, help us." The hologram faded. Eleanor looked up at the silent chamber. "We responded within 24 hours, she said quietly. "Our harvest ships carried food. Our war fleets carried medicine. And yesa," her eyes hardened, "they carried weapons, because someone needed to break that blockade." Trell began to speak, but Eleanor continued. "The Raxus ships fired first. That is documented. We defended ourselves and the aid convoy. We broke their blockade." She stood straighter. "And yes, we harvested their abandoned orbital platforms for parts to rebuild Novan infrastructure. We call that efficiency." "You call it theft," Trell countered. "I call it survival," Eleanor responded. "Something this council seems to have forgotten in its 1,000 years of existence." A hush fell over the chamber as the implications of her words sank in. 6 months earlier, Earth's Unified Command received Nova's desperate plea. The transmission came through an unofficial channel, bypassing standard diplomatic protocols. Most senior officers wanted to forward it to the Galactic Council's Aid Committee. Admiral Eleanor Reed disagreed. "Look at the timestamps," she said, pointing to the data. "This message bounced through 14 relay points before reaching us." Ambassador Lear risked her career, possibly her life, to send it. "And it's not the first appeal they've made." Director Patel frowned. "The Galactic Council has primary jurisdiction." "The Galactic Council has done nothing," Eleanor cut in. "For 3 years they've been arbitrating this conflict. Meanwhile, Nova starves under a blockade." The meeting room fell silent. Earth had been part of the galactic community for barely 20 years. They were newcomers, still learning the complex political landscape of interstellar relations. "If we intervene," General Torres said carefully, "we risk censure, possibly sanctions. Our trading rights out?" "I'm not talking about military intervention," Eleanor clarified. "Not primarily. We have 15 harvest ships sitting in orbit. After completing the Mars terraforming project, they're designed to produce food at industrial scales." Director Patel's eyebrows rose. "You want to send them to Nova?" "With military escort," Eleanor added. "The Raxus blockade is illegal even under council law. We'll request passage. If they fire first, we defend ourselves." "That's a dangerous line to walk," Torres warned. Eleanor's face hardened. "More dangerous than letting 5 million more people die while bureaucrats debate?" 72 hours later, Eleanor stood on the bridge of the flagship Guardian, watching as 14 converted harvest ships and 6 military vessels prepared to jump. Earth's government had approved the mission with one critical restriction: no first strikes. "Admiral," her second-in-command approached with a concerned expression. Final communication from Earth Command. Director Patel strongly urges you to reconsider leading this mission personally. Eleanor smiled thinly. Noted, Commander Jackson. He also mentioned that if this goes badly, they cannot guarantee Council protection for any of us. Also noted. Eleanor turned to the navigation officer. Are we prepared for jump? Yes, Admiral. All 20 vessels report ready. Eleanor nodded. Then let's bring some hope to Nova. The journey took 17 days using Earth's unique jump drive technology. Unlike the stable wormhole generators most galactic species relied on, human jump drives created temporary tears in space-time. The technology was unpredictable by Council standards but remarkably effective. It allowed humans to reach systems without using established wormhole networks. Networks the Raxus controlled near Nova. On the 18th day, the fleet emerged at the edge of the Novan system. Immediately, proximity alarms blared. 32 vessels in defensive formation around the fourth planet, reported the sensor officer. Raxus configuration. They've detected us. Open communications, Eleanor ordered. All frequencies. The main screen flickered, revealing a Raxus commander gray-skinned with characteristic ridge patterns denoting high military rank. This is Commander Drav, of the Raxus Confederation Defense Force. You have entered restricted space. Identify yourselves immediately. Eleanor stepped forward. Commander Drav, I am Admiral Eleanor Reed of Earth's Unified Fleet. We carry humanitarian aid for Nova. 15 of our 20 ships are harvest vessels carrying food, medicine, and agricultural equipment. The Raxus commander's ridges darkened, always a sign of anger or suspicion. The Novan situation is under Galactic Council jurisdiction. Your presence is unauthorized and unwelcome. We received a direct plea for aid from the Novan government. Eleanor replied calmly. The Council Charter, Section 12, Paragraph 4, permits emergency humanitarian response even during ongoing arbitration. Your ships are armed, Drav observed, as are yours. We came prepared to defend our humanitarian mission if necessary. We do not seek conflict. The Raxus commander's eyes narrowed. Return to Earth space immediately. This is your only warning. The Raxus Confederation does not recognize Earth's authority to intervene. Eleanor leaned forward. We're not asking for permission, Commander. We're notifying you of our intent to deliver aid to Nova. We will proceed to the planet. If you fire upon humanitarian vessels, you will be in violation of Council law. You have 1 hour to reverse course, Drav said coldly. After that, we will take appropriate action to maintain the security of this system. The screen went dark. Commander Jackson turned to Eleanor. They outnumber us, Admiral. In ships, yes, Eleanor agreed. But our shields are generations ahead of theirs. And they don't know what harvest ships can really do. She turned to the communications officer. Send to all vessels, prepare for blockade run. Defensive posture only. No first strikes. As the fleet reorganized into approach formation, Eleanor studied the tactical display. The Raxus had positioned their ships in a standard blockade pattern, expecting to intimidate the Earth vessels into retreat. They didn't understand human determination yet. They would learn. Admiral, Commander Jackson said quietly. If they fire first, Eleanor nodded. Then we show them why Earth remembers how to fight. But we remember how to feed the hungry first. She straightened her uniform, a head full. Let's bring hope to Nova. The 20 Earth vessels moved forward in tight formation, the massive harvest ships protected by the smaller but more agile warships. On the Raxus line, weapon systems began to power up. The clock was ticking down to confrontation. Captain Marcus Wright stood on the bridge of the converted harvest ship Abundance, watching the Raxus blockade grow larger on the main display. Unlike the sleek military vessels escorting them, the Abundance had been designed for terraforming operations. Its bulky frame housed massive hydroponics bays, molecular assemblers, and agricultural processing units. Now those systems carried enough food to feed 1 million Novans for 3 months. 30 seconds to contact range, his first officer reported. The Raxus are powering weapons. Marcus nodded calmly. Shield status? At maximum. Admiral Reed's modifications are holding stable. Before this mission, no one had attempted to mount military-grade shields on harvest vessels. The engineering teams had worked around the clock to make it possible. Now they would discover if their efforts would save lives or end them. Message from the Guardian, the communications officer announced. Admiral Reed says, remember the plan. Defense only until they fire first. Marcus acknowledged the message. His hands tightened on the railing as the Raxus ships grew larger on the screen. "They're targeting us," the tactical officer reported, voice tight with tension. Multiple lock-ons. She stopped abruptly. "They're firing!" Energy beams lanced out from the Raxus vessels, striking the shields of the lead Earth ships. The bridge of the Abundance vibrated as their own shields absorbed incoming fire. "Shields holding at 87%, the tactical officer reported, surprise evident in her voice. Marcus allowed himself a small smile. The Raxus clearly hadn't expected their weapons to be so ineffective. Human shield technology was one of the few areas where Earth had surpassed most galactic species. "Return fire," he ordered. "Targeted defensive pattern. Weapons only. No hull breaches." The Earth vessels responded, their weapons striking with surgical precision at the Raxus ship's weapon emplacements and propulsion systems. Unlike the Raxus wide-beam approach, the human vessels fired with pinpoint accuracy. "Admiral Reed is pushing through the left flank," the tactical officer reported. "She's creating an opening." "We're ordered to follow." Marcus nodded. "Helm, follow the Guardian." Full thrust. The massive harvest ship lurched forward, its engines straining. Ahead, the Guardian and two other military vessels had created a narrow corridor through the Raxus line, disabling but not destroying the blockade ships in their path. "Raxus vessels adjusting," the tactical officer warned. "They're moving to close the gap." Marcus studied the tactical display, then made a decision. "Deploy the collection arms." His first officer turned in surprise. "Sir?" "The collection arms," Marcus repeated. "Full extension, port and starboard. Normally used to gather and process raw materials during terraforming operations. The Abundance's collection arms were massive mechanical limbs spanning hundreds of meters when fully extended. They had never been designed as weapons. With a deep mechanical groan, the enormous arms extended from both sides of the harvest ship. As they approached the narrowing gap in the Raxus line, Marcus gave his next order. Rotation at maximum. Defensive pattern. The collection arms began to spin, creating a massive physical barrier that forced the approaching Raxus vessels to veer away or risk collision. The unexpected tactic created confusion in the Raxus formation. "We're through," the helm officer shouted as the Abundance broke past the blockade line, followed by three other harvest ships. The bridge crew cheered, but Marcus remained focused. "Damage report?" "Shields at 62%. Minor damage to sections 3 and 7. All systems operational." Marcus nodded. "Continue on course to Nova. Maximum speed." As half the Earth fleet engaged the Raxus forces, the Abundance led the relief convoy toward Nova. The blue-green planet grew larger on their screens, its once fertile lands now visibly barren even from orbit. Receiving transmission from the surface, the communications officer reported. The main screen activated, showing a thin, feather-crested Novan. Her plumage, which should have been vibrant blue, appeared dull and brittle, a sign of severe malnutrition. "This is Minister Kella of Nova," she said, her voice quavering. "Earth vessels, you have broken through the blockade. We had almost lost hope." Marcus stepped forward. "Minister, I'm Captain Marcus Wright of the Earthship Abundance. We bring food, medicine, and agricultural equipment. Request landing coordinates for our shuttles." The Novan minister's eyes glistened. "You truly came. The council said aid was coming for 3 years, but..." She straightened herself. "Transmitting coordinates now. We've prepared what landing areas we could." Within hours, the first shuttles descended to Nova's surface. Marcus led the initial landing team, stepping out onto Novan soil as crowds of thin, weakened people watched with cautious hope. Minister Kella met them at the landing zone, accompanied by what appeared to be local officials. Up close, the effects of prolonged starvation were even more apparent. Many Novans had lost feathers. Children showed signs of developmental issues. "Welcome to Nova, Captain," Kella said formally, "though I wish the circumstances were better." "We brought enough supplies for immediate relief," Marcus explained as his crew began unloading crates. "The first shipment is ready to eat. The molecular assemblers can produce more once they're set up." A young Novan approached tentatively, staring at the crates. Marcus knelt, opening one to reveal meal packages. He offered one to the child, who took it with trembling hands before being gently guided away by an adult. "How bad is it, truly?" Marcus asked Kella privately. The minister's composure faltered. 5 million dead. Mostly the very old and very young. Our agricultural systems were systematically destroyed by Raxus raids. They claimed they were targeting military installations. The Galactic Council believed that. Kella's feathers ruffled, and what Marcus had learned was a sign of frustration. The Council sent observers, filed reports, scheduled meetings. For 3 years, she looked directly at him. Why did Earth come when no one else would? Before Marcus could answer, his communication device activated. Captain Wright, came Admiral Reed's voice. Status report. First deliveries underway, Admiral. Setting up distribution centers now. Good. The Raxus have retreated to regroup. We've disabled 17 of their vessels. No destructions. There was a pause. We've also discovered something concerning. Their blockade ships have mining equipment. They've been extracting something from Nova's outer moons. Marcus glanced at Minister Kella, who showed no surprise at this information. You knew? He asked her after ending the communication. We suspected, Kella admitted. Nova's moons contain rare isotopes used in wormhole stabilizers. Very valuable. We believe the Raxus engineered this conflict to gain mining rights while appearing to respect council processes. Marcus's expression hardened. So they starved your people for profit while pretending to negotiate. And the council either didn't see or chose not to see, Kella confirmed. Back in orbit, the Earth fleet had established a defensive perimeter around Nova. The disabled Raxus vessels had been towed clear. Their crews contained but treated humanely. Admiral Reed had ordered survey teams to investigate the Novan moons, confirming Kella's claims about mining operations. On the Guardian's bridge, Reed reviewed the evidence with her senior staff. The isotope extraction has been going on for at least 2 years, Commander Jackson reported. The radiation signatures match the same time frame as Nova's crop failures. Eleanor's expression darkened. The mining byproducts poisoned their soil. And the Raxus knew it would, added Dr. Lydia Okafor, Earth's leading agricultural scientist who had accompanied the mission. These residues specifically target photosynthetic processes. They didn't just block food from reaching Novayaze, they made sure Novans couldn't grow their own. Eleanor studied the agricultural report. Can you counteract it? Lydia nodded cautiously. I believe so. With genetic modification and soil treatments, we could develop crops that will grow here again. But it will take time. Time the Novans don't have, Eleanor noted grimly. How long until the molecular assemblers can produce enough food for the entire population? 3 weeks at maximum capacity, Commander Jackson answered. But they weren't designed for permanent food production. Eleanor stared out the viewport at Nova below. Then we make them permanent. Convert the harvest ships to orbital food production facilities until Nova can feed itself again. A junior officer approached. Admiral, we're receiving a priority communication from Galactic Council headquarters. The main screen activated, revealing Counselor Drex, a 6-limbed being whose species was known for their strict adherence to regulations. Admiral Reed. Drex's voice was cold. The Council has convened an emergency session regarding your unauthorized intervention in the Raxus-Novan conflict. You are ordered to withdraw immediately. Eleanor stepped forward. Counselor, we have documented evidence that the Raxus have been deliberately causing Nova's famine while mining their moons. 5 million Novans have died while the Council processed paperwork. That is for the Council to investigate, Drex responded stiffly. A peacekeeping fleet has been dispatched to restore order. You will withdraw your forces before they arrive. With respect, Counselor, we will not abandon these people to starvation. Not again. Drex's color darkened. This is not a request, Admiral. This is a direct order from the Galactic Council. Compliance is mandatory. 27 Galactic Council vessels emerged from wormhole transit at the edge of the Novan system. Their sleek, standardized designs contrasted sharply with Earth's varied fleet. Where human ships showed evidence of repurposing and modification, Council vessels displayed uniform perfection, the result of thousands of years of stable development. On the bridge of the Guardian, Admiral Eleanor Reed watched the newcomers with a calm expression that belied her concern. They formed a standard approach pattern, her tactical officer reported. No weapons active yet, but their shields are at maximum. Eleanor nodded. Open communications. Let's not wait for them to make demands. The main screen activated, revealing Counselor Drex in what appeared to be a command center. His 6 limbs moved with precise efficiency across multiple control surfaces. Admiral Reed, he began without preamble. You have ignored a direct order from the Galactic Council. Your continued presence in the Novan system constitutes a violation of interstellar law. Eleanor remained standing, hands clasped behind her back. Counselor Drex, have you reviewed the evidence we transmitted regarding Raxus mining operations on Nova's moons? Drex's facial ridges tightened, a sign of irritation in his species. The allegations will be investigated through proper channels. That does not change your current status. You will withdraw your forces immediately. I invite you to send observers to the surface, Eleanor countered. See the conditions for yourself. 5 million dead, millions more at risk. The Raxus deliberately poisoned their agricultural systems while pretending to negotiate. That is not your judgment to make. Drex's voice rose slightly. The Council has procedures, Procedures that have failed these people for years, Eleanor interrupted. We have aid distribution centers operating across 3 continents now. Our scientists are working to detoxify their soil. If we leave, millions more will die. Drex leaned closer to his camera. Admiral, the Council Enforcement Fleet has authorization to remove your vessels by force if necessary. Final warning. Eleanor's expression didn't change. Counselor, I invite you personally to board the Guardian and review all our evidence. Then visit Nova's surface with me. If you still believe we should abandon these people afterward, we can discuss withdrawal terms. The unexpected offer seemed to catch Drex off guard. After a moment of hesitation, he nodded curtly. I will conduct a personal inspection. My fleet will maintain position. Your vessels will not leave orbit. 2 hours later, a Council shuttle docked with the Guardian. Counselor Drex emerged, accompanied by 4 security officers. Standing nearly 3 meters tall, his blue-gray exoskeleton gleamed under the ship's lights. Eleanor met him in the docking bay, extending a formal greeting. Welcome aboard the Guardian, Counselor. Thank you for agreeing to this inspection. Drex's upper limbs performed a formal gesture. This changes nothing about your violation of Council directives, Admiral, but I will observe your evidence. In the ship's conference room, Dr. Lydia Okafor presented her findings on the Raxus mining operations. Holographic displays showed the spread of toxins through Nova's soil and water systems. The pattern is unmistakable, Lydia explained, highlighting specific regions. The contamination spread from the mining sites outward. The toxins specifically target photosynthetic processes, making crop growth impossible. This wasn't accidental, it was engineered. Drex studied the data with growing concern. The Raxus claimed their mining operations were contained and safe. The Council observers reported no issues. Did those observers actually test the soil? Lydia asked pointedly. Or did they simply accept Raxus assurances? The Councilor's silence was answer enough. There's more, Eleanor added, bringing up another display. Communication logs between Raxus mining operations and their central command. They knew about the contamination 3 years ago and accelerated extraction anyway. Drex's limbs twitched in what might have been surprise or distress. How did you obtain these? From the disabled Raxus vessels, Eleanor answered simply. They didn't expect anyone to check their logs. 4 hours later, a joint team including Drex, Eleanor, and several specialists descended to Nova's surface. They landed near a major distribution center where thousands of Novans lined up to receive food packages. As they exited the shuttle, the reality of Nova's situation became impossible to ignore. Emaciated Novans moved slowly through organized lines, their once vibrant feather crests dull and sparse. Medical teams, both human and Nova now, attended to those too weak to stand. Minister Kella greeted them formally, though her attention clearly remained on the distribution efforts. Counselor Drex, welcome to Nova. I believe this is your first visit to our world? The implied criticism wasn't lost on Drex. I regret the circumstances, Minister. Come, Kella said, leading them through the facility. Let me show you what Earth has accomplished in just 5 days. The distribution center had been established in what was once a government complex. Now it housed molecular assemblers producing nutrient-dense food packets, medical stations treating malnutrition, and planning areas where Earth and Novan officials coordinated aid efforts. We're reaching 60% of the population now, Captain Marcus explained as they toured the facility. The harvest ships are producing enough to meet immediate needs, but long-term sustainability requires rehabilitating their soil, Drex observed silently, his species' expressions difficult for humans to read, but his rigid posture had softened somewhat. Their tour continued to a research station where Dr. Lydia was testing her bacterial solution. The initial results are promising, she explained, showing cultures growing in sample containers. The bacteria break down the mining toxins into harmless compounds. With sufficient distribution, we could see crop viability return within a growing season. As they prepared to return to orbit, a young Novan approached their group. The chilled gender indeterminate to human eyes offered a small carved token to Eleanor. "For the people of Earth," the child said in halting galactic standard. "My parent says to tell you. We will remember." Eleanor accepted the simple carving with appropriate gravity. "Thank you. We will remember too." Back aboard the Guardian, Drex requested a private meeting with Eleanor. His formal demeanor had changed subtly after the surface visit. "The situation is not as I was led to believe," he admitted. "The Council received filtered reports. The Raxus representatives assured us that Nova's claims of famine were exaggerated to gain concessions." Eleanor's expression remained neutral. "And no one thought to verify independently?" Drex's limbs moved in a gesture of discomfort. "The Council oversees thousands of worlds, Admiral. We must rely on established protocols and trusted information channels, both of which failed Nova completely," Eleanor pointed out. "Yes." The simple admission seemed difficult for the counselor. "However, your unilateral action still creates dangerous precedent. If every species intervened in conflicts based on their own judgment." "Sometimes judgment is needed when systems fail," Eleanor replied. "Earth remembers its own history of famines and genocides while authorities debated protocols. We won't stand by when we can help." Drex studied her for a long moment. "I will report what I've seen to the full council. I cannot authorize your continued presence, but I will not force your withdrawal while aid is flowing." It was a small victory, but Eleanor would take it. "Thank you, Counselor." As Drex's shuttle departed for his command vessel, Eleanor received an urgent message from Earth. Director Patel's face appeared on her private screen, his expression grave. "Admiral, we've received 17 additional distress calls from worlds across 3 sectors, all bypassing Council channels, all addressed specifically to Earth." Eleanor's eyebrows rose. 17? "Word of your actions at Nova has spread," Patel explained. "These worlds face various crises, some natural disasters, others conflicts similar to Nova's situation. All claim the Council has been slow or ineffective in responding. We don't have resources to help 17 worlds," Eleanor said, thinking aloud, "not without significant expansion." "The Security Council is divided," Patel continued. "Some see this as an opportunity to establish Earth as a major galactic power. Others fear Council retaliation if we expand our aid efforts." Eleanor considered this information. "What about the Raxus? Any response to our evidence about their mining operations?" "They formally denied everything and filed countercharges against Earth for unprovoked aggression and theft of Raxus property." "Hardly unexpected," Eleanor noted. "Forward me the details on those 17 distress calls. I want to understand what we're dealing with." After ending the communication, Eleanor made her way to the ship's observation deck. The stars spread out before her, countless worlds facing unknown challenges. Earth was so new to this galactic community. Barely 2 decades since first contact, yet now they found themselves thrust into a central role. Her contemplation was interrupted by Commander Jackson. "Admiral, we're detecting unusual activity from the Raxus forces at the edge of the system. They've regrouped and appear to be receiving reinforcements." Eleanor frowned. "Show me." Jackson handed her a datapad displaying tactical information. Long-range sensors show at least 30 new vessels arriving through unstable wormholes. Their signatures don't match standard Raxus configurations. The massive domed ceiling of the Galactic Council's judgment chamber loomed 300 meters overhead, its crystalline surface reflecting the faces of 2,000 alien representatives. The emergency session had drawn unprecedented attendance. At the center stood Admiral Eleanor Reed, her weathered face illuminated by harsh light, the only human in a sea of alien delegates. "You stand accused of violating Directive 17, announced High Counselor Trell, his 4 eyes narrowing. "Deploying military vessels to the Novan system without Council approval." Eleanor's mouth twitched into what might be a smile. "We received a distress call." We responded. "With harvest ships?" Trell's voice echoed through the chamber. "With war fleets?" "The Novans pleaded for aid," Eleanor replied steadily. They were starving. Their crops had failed for 3 cycles. The Raxus Confederation had blockaded their system. The Raxus-Novan conflict was under council arbitration, hissed a reptilian delegate. Earth had no authority. 5 million Novans had already died while your arbitration dragged on, Eleanor interrupted, causing gasps throughout the chamber. 5 million. While you debated protocols, Trell rose towering 3 meters tall. And so Earth sent harvest ships a worse. And war fleets, added another counselor. Yes, Eleanor said, pulling a small device from her pocket. May I present evidence? The hologram of Ambassador Lear appeared, tears streaming down her feathered face. Please, the recording pleaded, my people are dying. The council debates while children starve. We have heard stories of Earth. They say you prioritized action over politics. They say you remember hunger. The hologram faded. Eleanor looked up at the silent chamber. We responded within 24 hours, she said quietly. Our harvest ships carried food. Our war fleets carried medicine. And yes, they carried weapons, because someone needed to break that blockade. Trell began to speak, but Eleanor continued. The Raxus ships fired first. That is documented. We defended ourselves in the aid convoy. We broke their blockade. She stood straighter. And yes, we harvested their abandoned orbital platforms for parts to rebuild Novan infrastructure. We call that efficiency. You call it theft, Trell countered. I call it survival, Eleanor responded, something this council seems to have forgotten in its 1,000 years of existence. A hush fell over the chamber. After several moments of tense silence, an elderly delegate rose from the highest tier of seats. Unlike the other representatives, this being wore no formal council attire, just simple gray robes. His species was unfamiliar to Eleanor, vaguely insectoid but with translucent skin showing complex internal structures. I would speak, the delegate announced, his voice surprisingly melodic for his appearance. High Counselor Trell inclined his head respectfully. The council recognizes Counselor Venn of the Archivists. Eleanor recognized the name immediately. The Archivists were among the oldest species in the galaxy, observers and record keepers for over 50,000 years. They rarely participated directly in council proceedings. Ben descended slowly to the chamber floor, moving with the careful precision of extreme age. He approached Eleanor, studying her with multifaceted eyes. Human, he said simply. Your species is young, barely 2 centuries in space. 2 decades known to the greater community. He tilted his head. Yet you act with the confidence of far older races. Age doesn't always equal wisdom, Eleanor responded carefully. Sometimes fresh perspectives are needed. Venn made a sound that might have been laughter. Indeed, I have observed 11,427 council sessions. I have witnessed the rise and fall of 17 galactic powers. He turned to address the chamber. What the human says about survival is correct. Murmurs spread through the assembly. The council has grown, Venn continued, in size, in process, in complexity. But it has diminished in purpose. Once we acted decisively to preserve life. Now we debate while millions perish. High Counselor Trell shifted uncomfortably. The procedures exist to prevent hasty actions that might disrupt the comfortable balance of power. Venn interrupted. I have accessed the records of the Novan situation. 3 years of arbitration while a world starved. The evidence of Raxus mining operations was in the Council's own survey data or unexamined, filed away. Eleanor watched this unexpected ally with interest. The ancient being turned back to her. You acted without permission, Venn stated. You violated procedures? You disrupted established protocols. A pause. And in doing so, you saved millions of lives. The chamber erupted in overlapping voices, some supportive, others outraged. High Counselor Trell called repeatedly for order, his amplified voice eventually silencing the chaos. The actions of Earth, however well-intentioned, have created dangerous precedent, Trell insisted. If every species were to intervene in conflicts based solely on their own judgment, then perhaps more lives would be saved, came a new voice. All eyes turned to see Minister Kella of Nova, her once dull feathers now showing hints of returning color. She stood at the chamber entrance with a small delegation of Novan officials. The council recognizes Minister Kella of Nova, Trell announced formally. Kella moved to stand beside Eleanor. For 3 years we submitted evidence of our people's suffering. For 3 years we followed every procedure, filed every petition, respected every process. Her voice grew harder. And for 3 years we watched our children die while the council scheduled more meetings. She activated her own holographic display, showing images from Novae Rar's mass graves, starving populations, destroyed farmlands. Many delegates looked away. Earth came when no one else would, Kella continued. Without their harvest ships, another 3 million of my people would have died while waiting for council authorization. From another entrance, Councillor Drex approached, his tall form moving with formal precision. I must confirm the Novan minister's account, he stated. My inspection of Nova revealed conditions far worse than reported in official council assessments. The evidence of deliberate Raxus interference is substantial. Eleanor allowed herself a small breath of relief. Drex's support hadn't been guaranteed. Furthermore, the counselor continued, subsequent investigation has revealed corrupted information channels. Several council observers assigned to the Raxus-Novan conflict received substantial payments from Raxus mining interests. That revelation sent another wave of shocked conversations through the chamber. High Counselor Trell appeared genuinely stunned. Is this verified? He demanded. Fully, Drex confirmed. The financial records were discovered in the Raxus command vessels disabled by Earth forces. Eleanor stepped forward. Counselors, while we debate past actions, the situation continues to evolve. The Raxus have gathered a substantial mercenary fleet at the edge of the Novan system. They've recruited prohibited species and appear to be planning a major offensive, not just against Earth vessels, but against Council forces as well. She activated a tactical display showing the positions of various fleets. Counselor Drex established a temporary security arrangement with our forces, which has maintained stability so far. But the Raxus buildup continues. High Counselor Trell studied the tactical data with growing concern. This extends beyond a local dispute. If prohibited species have been granted wormhole access by the Raxus, it suggests a broader challenge to Council authority. Ven finished the thought. One that may have been developing unnoticed while we focused on procedures rather than outcomes. The debate continued for hours. Various factions formed among the delegates, those who saw humans as dangerous disruptors, those who viewed Earth as potential allies, and many who remained uncertain. Meanwhile, the tactical displays showed the Raxus fleet continuing to grow. During a recess, Eleanor conferred with Dr. Lydia, who had been summoned to present evidence on the contamination of Nova's agricultural systems. The bacterial solution is working even better than expected, Lydia reported. We've seen 90% toxin reduction in test areas. With full distribution, Nova could plant crops within months. Eleanor nodded. That might be our strongest argument. Practical results while the council deliberates. There's more, Lydia added. I've been examining the mining byproducts more carefully. The toxins aren't just random pollution. They're specifically engineered to destroy certain types of agriculture while preserving others. What does that mean? It means the Raxus weren't just mining Nova's moons for resources. They were preparing the planet for colonization with their own crops. Lydia's expression was grim. They weren't negotiating. They were conducting slow-motion terraforming for their own benefit. Eleanor's jaw tightened. We need to present this immediately. When the session resumed, Dr. Lydia presented her findings to the shocked council. The evidence of deliberate terraforming was effectively a covert planetary takeover shifted the debate dramatically. This constitutes attempted genocide and planetary theft, declared a delegate from a world near Raxus space. If they've done this to Nova, what might they be doing elsewhere? As if on cue, Eleanor received an urgent communication from Commander Jackson aboard the Guardian. She requested permission to address the council with new information. The Raxus attack began at dawn, measured in Nova's rotation cycle. 67 vessels emerged from unstable wormholes, their formation suggesting confidence in superior numbers. They approached the combined Earth Council defense perimeter with weapons charged. Broadcasting no communications, aboard the Guardian, Admiral Eleanor Reed watched the tactical display with focused calm. They're deploying in standard Raxus assault pattern, Commander Jackson reported. 3-tiered approach, heavy weapons in the center column. Eleanor nodded. And our forces? In position. The council vessels have taken the flanking quadrants as planned. Our ships hold the center and rear positions. And the harvest ships? Secured behind Nova's largest moon, with the bacterial solution production continuing at maximum capacity. Eleanor studied the approaching fleet. They expect us to follow standard Council defensive protocols. Let's disappoint them. She opened a channel to the combined fleet. All vessels execute Operation Broken Chain. The supposedly static defensive line suddenly shifted. Council ships maintained their positions while Earth vessels performed a complex maneuver, creating what appeared to be a gap in the defensive line. The Raxus fleet adjusted quickly, concentrating forces toward the perceived weakness. Their lead vessels accelerated, sensing an opportunity. They're taking the bait, Jackson confirmed, committing 30% of their force to the gap. Wait for it, Eleanor murmured. As the Raxus ships rushed toward the apparent vulnerability, the Earth vessels suddenly executed a precise pincer movement. What had seemed like a defensive failure was revealed as a trap, with Raxus ships now caught between converging forces. Phase 2, Eleanor ordered. The battle erupted in earnest. Energy weapons lanced across space as ships maneuvered in complex patterns. Unlike previous Council Raxus engagements, which followed predictable tactical doctrines, the combined fleet fought with unexpected variations. Human unpredictability paired with Council precision created a formidable combination. Captain Marcus Wright commanded the converted harvest ship Abundance, now serving as a support vessel behind the main combat line. His crew monitored the battle while continuing their primary mission of protecting Nova's recovery efforts. Raxus vessels breaking through Sector 7, his tactical officer reported. 3 ships on approach toward our position, Marcus frowned. The Abundance wasn't built for direct combat, despite its defensive capabilities. Evasive pattern. Alert the Guardian. Before the Guardian could respond, the approaching Raxus ships launched a new weapon, small, drone-like projectiles that moved with unusual speed. Unknown ordnance incoming, the tactical officer shouted. Defensive systems not registering proper targeting solutions. Full shields, Marcus ordered calmly. Prepare for impact. The drone struck the Abundance's shields but didn't detonate as expected. Instead, they attached themselves to the shield perimeter, emitting pulses that created visible distortions. Shield integrity dropping, the engineering officer reported urgently. Some kind of resonance effect. 40%, 30%. Marcus made a rapid decision. Drop shields. Full power to engines. Evasive pattern Omega. His first officer looked shocked. Sir, without shields, Without shields we still have a chance, Marcus interrupted. If those drones collapse our shield matrix completely, they'll disable all systems. As the shields dropped, the drones lost their attachment points, tumbling briefly in space before reorienting toward the vessel. Now, Marcus ordered. Collection arms, full extension. The massive mechanical arms used for harvesting operations extended from the ship's sides. As the drones approached, the arms began spinning, creating an unpredictable physical barrier. Reverse thrust. 3-second burst, Marcus commanded. The sudden backward movement caught the pursuing drones off guard. Several collided with the spinning collection arms, detonating on impact. The explosions damaged the arms but left the ship's core systems intact. Clever adaptation, Captain Wright, came Admiral Reed's voice over the comm. Guardian is dispatching support vessels to your position. Thank you, Admiral, Marcus responded. But we're not finished yet. He turned to his engineering team. The Raxus just showed their hand. Those drones target shield harmonics, transmit the frequency analysis to all Earth and Council vessels. Across the battlefield, the combined fleet adjusted their shield modulations based on the Abundance's data. The Raxus tactic, effective in the first instance, lost its advantage. On the Guardian's bridge, Eleanor received updated tactical information. 17 Raxus vessels disabled. 3 destroyed her. They initiated self-destruct protocols when boarded. Her expression tightened at the needless loss of life. Admiral, her communications officer interrupted. Incoming transmission from Nova surface. Dr. Lydia requests urgent communication. Lydia's face appeared on screen, her expression intense. Admiral, we've detected unusual energy signatures at 3 points on Nova's surface. They match Raxus mining technology but at much higher output levels. Eleanor frowned. They have ground installations? It appears so, hidden beneath inactive mining sites. They're activating now. Lydia's concern was evident. The energy patterns suggest they're attempting to accelerate the contamination process, essentially delivering a final poisoning to ensure Nova remains uninhabitable. Can you counter it? Not without direct access to the sites. We need to shut them down physically, Eleanor nodded. Sending teams now. She turned to Commander Jackson. Prepare 3 strike teams. Priority targets. As the space battle continued, transport vessels delivered Earth and Council special forces to Nova's surface. The teams raced against time to reach the hidden Raxus facilities before they could complete their toxic release. Dr. Lydia accompanied the team targeting the primary facility. Descending into the concealed installation, they discovered extensive equipment designed for environmental modification. This isn't just a mining operation, Lydia observed, studying the control systems. This is planetary-scale terraforming technology. She pointed to chemical storage tanks. These compounds would render Nova's atmosphere compatible with Raxus physiology, while making it toxic to Novans. Can you shut it down? Asked the team leader. Lydia studied the controls. Yes, but we can do better than that. Her hands moved across the interface. I can reprogram it to neutralize the compounds already released. While the ground teams worked to secure the facilities, the space battle reached its climax. The Raxus fleet, finding their tactics ineffective against the combined Earth Council force, attempted a desperate maneuver, concentrating all remaining vessels in a direct assault on the Guardian. They're targeting your ship specifically, Admiral, Counselor Drex reported from his command vessel, directing all their firepower to break through to your position. Eleanor understood immediately. They believe if they eliminate Earth's command vessel, our forces will retreat. She turned to her tactical officer. Prepare the resonance system. The officer's eyes widened slightly. Admiral, that system is still classified. The Council isn't aware. They are now, Eleanor interrupted. Desperate times, Commander. As the Raxus vessels converged on the Guardian's position, Eleanor opened a channel to Counselor Drex. Counselor, we're about to deploy a non-lethal weapon system. I advise your vessels to maintain current positions and adjust shields to harmonic frequency 12 delta. Drex's expression showed curiosity and concern. Acknowledged, Admiral. The Guardian's outer hull sections reconfigured, revealing specialized emitter arrays. Energy built visibly around the ship, creating a rippling effect in the surrounding space. Resonance system at full capacity, reported the tactical officer. Eleanor nodded. Deploy. A wave of energy expanded outward from the Guardian. Not a destructive blast, but a precisely modulated field that interacted with ship systems in specific ways. As the field washed over the approaching Raxus vessels, their engines suddenly powered down, weapon systems went offline, and they began drifting in space. Direct hit on all 23 vessels, the tactical officer confirmed. Their primary systems are temporarily disabled. Life support and minimal functions remain operational. Across the battlefield, the remaining Raxus ships witnessed their main attack force rendered helpless without destruction. Several began retreat maneuvers immediately. The Raxus flagship is hailing us, the communications officer announced. The main screen activated, showing a senior Raxus commander, his ridge patterns indicating highest military authority. You have weapons we did not anticipate, the commander stated flatly. The cost of continuing this conflict exceeds acceptable parameters. Eleanor stood facing the screen directly. Do you speak for the Raxus Confederation, Commander? I am authorized to negotiate cessation of hostilities. Then these are our terms, Eleanor replied. First, immediate withdrawal of all Raxus forces from Nova and the 16 other systems you've targeted. Second, full disclosure of all environmental modification operations in those systems. Third, payment of reparations for damages caused. The Raxus commander's ridges darkened with anger. You demand too much. Those aren't demands, Eleanor clarified. They're the starting point for negotiations that will take place under Council supervision. The alternative is we deploy our resonance technology to disable your entire fleet, then board and seize your vessels as evidence.